finally had a chance to come and do a live, and I wanted to just touch on some things. Um, the gaslighting that I've been experiencing lately has been surreal. I had to call out um, two family members, well, my mother and her husband, about the witchcraft and the warfare that I've been experiencing. And it's not just them, I just called the two of them out on it. And clearly, they want me to believe that they are all about God and et cetera, et cetera. But it's clear that they're not. I don't know. I don't even know how to move forward with this. It's difficult when the church is fully involved in the deception that's happening on the earth in relations to witchcraft warfare, et cetera, et cetera. Because if you are in a position where you're making a lot of money, you're not going to be able to make that kind of money without being approached. That's a fact. And and if you're approached and you don't co-align with what you're being asked to do, they're going to make your life difficult. The Lord's about to rectify that, but I'm a living testimony to the idea that if you stand for righteousness in any way, shape, or form, and you work in a position of influence, you're either going to have to go along with what they say, or they're going to deal with you swiftly. And that's what happened to me. I am so done with explaining to people why I'm not working, no longer working for the board, why it is that I'm in the position that I'm in right now. A lot of people know why I'm in the position I'm in right now. A lot of it is spiritual. A lot of it is at the hands of people that know me. A lot of people, now that I know that people can actually go to readers and get people's destiny or prophecies about people's lives, I know that the perception about me, or the idea about what my future would look like, was known to my family or my mother, my father, particularly my mother, when I was born. She knew years ago. Um, so I had a situation today where I felt I had to I'm not the type, I'm not confrontational. But I'm putting myself in positions where I'm having to defend myself, and reason and play in situations where I shouldn't have to defend myself. I don't know why I always put myself in a position where I'm trying to appease people who couldn't possibly understand what I've been through, because it's actually surreal. Not many people have to endure what I've had to endure. And I'm not bigging myself up. I'm not acting like I'm better than anybody else or that situation. Everyone's gone through hardships, but what I've gone through has been more than most people can understand or bear. And I'm not saying that to evoke sympathy out of people. I'm saying this as a fact. And I don't have to say more than that, because the Lord will unveil everything. But I knew in 2011 that I would lose everything. The Lord led me to understand that to do what He needed to do, I would have to be stripped of everything that I loved and everything that I know. And I thought I could handle it, and I thought that my children would be a part of that. That because I'm really all they had. Their dads weren't actively involved in their life, so I thought it would be me and them. What it turns out to be is that it's just me. And like I said, my family is very aware, and the gaslighting to try and convince me that what I know and what the Lord's led me to understand is not that way, that somehow I'm crazy because the Lord communicates with me, has been something very difficult to navigate through. Right now, I'm in a position where I don't care what people think. I'm going to start to act like I don't care what people think, because I'm trying to appease people, because, like I said, what's happened to me has been surreal. There's been definite and traceable attempts to take my life for whatever the reason is. I don't know exactly. I know what the Lord's led me to understand and believe. But it doesn't matter. The Lord's been protecting me, because if He hasn't been protecting me, I would have been out, gone a long time ago. That's for sure. So, as I say this, the Lord had led me to make this channel, which I have. There's been so many attacks against this channel because of the things that I've unveiled about what's with the food that we eat, etc., etc. But those attacks happened when I first started this channel. The channel produces no revenue because and I've been expected to make some extraordinarily huge amount of views on my shorts or whatever else, which is not going to happen. I don't think on that not in this lifetime. I don't think. Which led me to announce that I was going to make a new channel and start posting on there. But the point is that the things I was saying that got this channel struck or demonetized are actually happening. The foods that we're eating are not food really. Like the if you buy like three things: bananas, avocados, watermelon. For sure, I bought all three, and I've had those things. I've bent them, and they have bent like rubber. They had no real, like the way that you'd remember a watermelon or a banana or a piece of avocado bending. It didn't bend like that. It bent like rubber. um a lot of our foods, we can't reproduce from them because they have no seeds. That's not natural. What else? Chemtrails. A lot of people that I know at a certain time, almost at a uniform time, were experiencing issues with their lungs, and they were diagnosed with cancer. But if you look back to it, there's times when the skies have been covered with chemtrails. Those planes that leave a trail of, like, not smoke but like mist or whatever it is, chemicals or whatever, and people just don't even think about it. They just assume it's clouds, or it's just exhaust from planes, when really they are filling our air and our skies with chemicals, with poison. The Lord has called me to not only announce and to sound the alarm, for people to be warned that the Lord is not pleased with how the world has been navigating itself right now in relation to food that we consume, the way that um, people are interacting with each other, men and women with each other, children and parents with each other, families with each other, society as a whole have been so cruel. And I refuse to believe that I'm the odd one for being kind and being patient. I believe that the patient ones and the kind ones are the remnant, the ones who the Lord will use to draw souls to the kingdom, because we're going to need people who are patient. We're going to need people in that time that are understanding, who have knowledge of many things, to do many things. How to get people to be healed without medication, because at some point they're not going to be handing out medication. We're not going to have access to medication like people have been trying to access medication nowadays. In any situation where there's been turmoil, or there's been chaos, or there's been crisis in the world, they're not handing out Prozac. They're not handing out diabetes medication. They're barely handing out water and food. So why people will think that, we should be strictly dependent on a society that is so flawed and so fragile. If anything should happen, people aren't even thinking about how they would live, and there's so much to be concerned about. The USA is governed by a gentleman who, and I use that term very loosely, who doesn't care much about anyone but himself and his perspective. He's never he I don't think he's ever had a situation where he's been in a position where most people that he's influencing has been in, having to figure out how if they're going to pay their rent or pay their mortgage or buy food, how much the cost of fuel is. There's so much going on. And I know that people are looking at me and saying, you're intelligent, what are you doing with your time, blah blah blah. And I'm done with answering those questions. There's so many things I could do. If my life was a regular life, if I didn't go through what went through, if I wasn't called to do what I've been doing, there's so many things I could be doing. I'm smart enough. I'm strong enough. But the Lord has led me to do what I'm doing now, because my life serves a purpose bigger than what I can say that people will really believe. My family is aware, but they would like me to disown what the Lord has led me to understand as my role, and to believe a lie, to believe that what I went through was somehow my fault, and that somehow I can fix it. There's no Anything that I attempt to do will be sabotaged unless the Lord wants me to do that. If any kind of job or any kind of thing I try and do, I will not be doing it in private. So why would I not wait for the Lord to move in my life? That is the position I'm in right now. For those of you who are saying, why don't you just try this? Why don't you just move here? It is not that simple when the Lord has called you to do something. That is for sure. And I'm I'm in a position right now where I'm so done with explaining myself to people who could not possibly understand what I'm going through. Out of all the people that I know, and especially my children's fathers, I'm the most ambitious person you'll ever know. I am so much about knowledge and about understanding how to navigate through life independently. No one can, not many people can relate to that. As a matter of fact, I am so much that way that it's intimidating to people. People don't like me because I am thirsty for knowledge and want to know certain things. And I'm done with surrounding myself with people who see that as being a threat, people who see that as being annoying, people who have their own vision for my life. Um, I already know the Lord has already, at this stage in my life, I already know what the calling is on my life. And I'm not going to let anyone sway me into abandoning that. I don't know who that message is for. It's for somebody or for some people. And for those of you who are in cahoots with trying to derail my destiny or to try and take my life for whatever reason, by now you must know that God has a bigger plan for me that you can't change. You know, it's not up to you to decide my destiny and my. Some people have a greater calling in their life, and I've come to accept that. I'm not being braggadocious about it because this is not a role that I asked for that I know of, unless it's an agreement I made before my mother's womb, which is scriptural. I had no idea when I was young that I had a calling on my life. All I knew was very different. All I knew is that, in spite of the fact I had struggles when in school, that was more so because of the abuse I experienced at home, not because I wasn't intelligent enough to understand what was going on in school. I had every time I was at school, I was always thinking about going home, and about the abuse that I would endure at the hands that people are supposed to be for me or taking care of me. So anyway, for those of you in the community, including the people who are supposed to serve and protect, who feel that it was wise to know the role that I play and that somehow there was power in numbers that you were going to get away with doing what you've done or have been doing, I feel sorry for you. Because someone who has spiritual ranking or spiritual understanding should have told you. You should have known. Anyway, like I said, um, my days of explaining why my focus has been sharing my journey, the attacks against my physical well-being, why I fast, why I abstain from certain things, why I don't eat certain things, why I've started to incorporate certain things into my diet, why I'm called to live by. We are all called, but some of us are adamant about living by the word of God. I'm not going to explain that anymore because by now, if people wanted to know, they would know. If people wanted to understand, they would understand. And there are people who claim to know God, who claim to be scriptural. Like there's a whole. I just came encounter with a whole business. It's huge that consistently profess God, 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 God. This, thank God, He's a blessing. He's the one who did this. He's the one. And honestly, I really don't believe that God did anything for them because I believe that their focus is not God. Their focus is money. Their focus is position. Their focus is status. And that is not of God. That's idolatry. When God calls a person into the kingdom, if He's going to give him wealth, He's going to give him wealth, give them wealth to build the kingdom, not for self preservation or to build oneself. And that's where I'm going to leave that there. I put myself in a position where I made a poor choice. I kind of made the poor choice, thinking that I'd be helping people, but the choice that I made to do what I was doing, no one's gonna be listening to what I have to say. Not right now. Not until God. There's a great move of God which is coming. Keep this in mind we're having a World Series game or soccer tournament in the West right now, including the U.S. And people should be thinking about President Trump's role globally and how people perceive him and how this could actually turn out. Because I just found out, I should have known, the final game for FIBA is going to be in the U.S. And the way the way that the globe is viewing President Trump right now, people need to be keeping an eye on what might transpire in the next few weeks. I'm not talking about months or years. I'm talking about the few weeks, and I'm not saying for sure because only the Lord knows the day or the hour. But all I know is that to have such an enormous tournament happening in a country where most leaders, if not all, are questioning his ability to lead in a sane manner should raise red flags. So I'm going to say about that. Anyway, I'm going to go. I had a chance to really think about what how I should move forward in relation to what to share. There's so many things going on. A lot of things have been unveiled in relation to the food that we're eating, the um, the satanic practices, not only in people in positions of leadership or people who are in positions of influence, like celebrities, but also to people who are navigating their lives around us, like everyday people who have had like pastors and people who are supposed to serve and protect, people who are in the medical field who fully well know what they're doing is wrong and are doing it because they've been financially compensated. All those people are going to be outed. There's going to be an outing and um, an unveiling of the corruption all around us, and it might happen simultaneously. I'm not too sure. It just seems that way because there's so much things going on all at once. So look out for that. Um, this is what God, the Lord, called me to do. The Lord has made it so that I can function without what people would say is an abundance in the moment, and I'm making do with that. I'm not going to chase after things that I know are not the Lord's going to destroy. There's a lot of things that people are investing their time and their money in that the Lord is going to tear down because there's corruption and the Lord is not pleased. And those of you who are involved in that, just know it is coming shortly. The Lord is not pleased with the corruption that's happening, not only in the hires up, but locally as well. In families, the Lord is unveiling and exposing all corruption and in the way that makes sense for him because his goal is to gather souls. That's what he wants. He wishes for none to perish, but for all to have everlasting life. So keep that in mind. All right, guys. Thank you for your time. Thank you for supporting the channel. Until tomorrow, guys, be blessed. I'll be running again, most likely. So I hope you're all doing well and staying healthy and staying in the Word, staying prayed up. Pray for your family. Uh, what I should say before I go. The Lord has led me to understand, because I'm going to so many funerals, He led me to understand some things. Okay, the Lord always picks um, someone in a group to have a huge impact. Most of the funerals I've been to lately have been huge. They've touched so many lives around me. And that's not by chance. The Lord does those kind of things for a reason. And the last funeral I went to hit home. It hit hard for me. It was so hard for me to deal with, and I still don't even know why it was so hard for me to wrap my head around. But the point is this: not just the deaths, because we're all going to pass away. It's not just the death. It's where we go after we pass away. Our society, not only are we falling victim to the lies about the food that we eat, the water that we drink, what we think is safe, what doctors' roles are really for our health and well-being, the truth behind fasting, the truth behind exercise, the truth behind menopause, simply the truth behind cancer, all that kind of stuff is being unveiled right now. But besides that, the Lord led me to understand some things about heaven and the opposite, and why people don't make it. One of the reasons are that, and I'm talking about my gender, women. Women and men are not equal. We are complementary. We're supposed to be whole and come together and procreate. Women, the Lord let, because I'm a female, I guess that's the reason why the Lord has really let me to really wrap my head around this. Women have really dropped the ball. Not only are women putting themselves in a position where they feel that they don't need men, um, uh, and this has all been brainwashing. All that's been happening with women and men overall has been brainwashing by what we watch, what we listen to, et cetera, what we've been taught in schools. The Lord led me to understand that because a lot of what happened to me has been at the hands of women, women who have been jealous, angry for no reason. And the Lord led me to understand that there's going to be a lot of women, e- particularly Christian women, that are not going to make it. And the reason being is that they are cold, they are callous, they are jealous, they are disrespectful, they are greedy and self serving. And there's a lot of women, for whatever reason, who are justifying their wickedness. They're saying that they're wicked, that they're actually bragging about being mean, bragging about being greedy. I had someone in my life brag about she knows where she's going. She knows she's going to HELL. How do you brag about that? How is that? That is sheer ignorance to brag about that. To be so wicked and cruel that you know your wickedness is going to send you to somewhere you don't even know what that really entails. Anyway, that's one of the many warnings the Lord's been giving me lately. That the idolizing and worshiping of money is huge. The Lord is not pleased with the idol worship of money and position. The things that people have done to get what they have, it's not what we think. The days of people going to school, getting an education, getting a good job, and making money, maybe investing that money, are over. People doing some, they do some really crooked things to get the position that they have and get the money that they have. And the Lord's about to expose all of it. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your support of the channel. Um, you are made marvelously. You're a special generation created for this time. You're not a mistake. The Lord loves you. Until tomorrow, guys, be blessed.